They came to me. I was supposed to be the fourth king. I got the offer.
Then what happened?
But I turned it down.
Why?
Because you shit on Bernie. And I know the truth. You think I'm gonna let you shit on Bernie and then come get me? I'm the next king? Fuck you. Why? Because the whole time Bernie was here, you was acting like you was funnier than him.
The night Bernie Mac saw just how shady Steve Harvey could be was never caught on tape, but the clues were all over the place. They hit the road together, cracked jokes on stage, shared that brotherly vibe, but off stage, it was a whole different game. Bernie started noticing Steve hogging the spotlight, using his connects to get ahead and grinning while quietly pushing Bernie to the side. Years down the line, Bernie finally spoke up. He said Steve was out here blocking his gigs, making moves behind closed doors, all while pretending they were tight. And when Bernie passed, Steve kept it icy, barely said a word, just silence, until Diddy stepped into the story. Now here's where it gets wild. Lori Harvey got linked to both Diddy and his son, Justin Combs. The streets were buzzing with rumors, and Steve, he stayed quiet. Not a single word. Now that Diddy's facing serious charges for some wild accusations involving setups and assault, folks are starting to look back, connecting dots that were there all along. Some are saying Bernie Mac might have seen the whole setup long before the rest of the world caught on. Bernie Mac never had it handed to him. Born Bernard Jeffrey McCullough on October 5th, 1957, right in the heart of Chicago's South Side. He grew up in the middle of the struggle. His mom, Mary, held it down solo, trying to raise him and his brother the best she could. Even as a little kid, Bernie had that spark. At just 8 years old, he jumped up during a church dinner and had everybody cracking up with spot-on impressions of his grandparents, including his grandpa, a straight-faced deacon at their Baptist church. The crowd went wild. That moment lit a fire in Bernie. He tasted what it felt like to bring joy, and he was hooked. My grandfather was a deacon of the church. He once said, life back then was all about hard work and prayer. But life didn't play fair with Bernie. At just 16, his world got flipped upside down. His mom passed away from cancer, a heartbreak that would break most teens. And then, like a line of falling dominoes, he lost his older brother, his distant father, and his grandmother too. All in rapid succession. The funny kid who made everybody laugh, now surrounded by pain. I came from a place where there wasn't a lot of joy, Bernie told 19 News. I decided to try to make other people laugh when there wasn't a lot of things to laugh about. It wasn't just jokes, it was survival. Watching his mom battle breast cancer left deep wounds on young Bernie that never healed. In a raw, emotional moment years later on Howard Stern's show, Bernie revealed something that haunted him for life. He came home one day, all hyped after smashing a home run in baseball, but when he walked in the door, everything changed. His mom was partially undressed, and that's when he saw it. A huge scar across her chest from a mastectomy. That scar hit him hard. Right then and there, the playful kid realized his mom was in a real fight just to stay alive. His mom tried to shield him from the truth. Close the door and don't ask questions, she told him. But little Bernie was confused, scared. Looking for answers, he turned to his grandmother, but she just sent him right back to his mama. No one explained anything. The silence was heavy and it left Bernie feeling lost and alone. Before she passed, his mother poured her heart into a 10-page letter to his aunt. 10 pages filled with love, instructions, and a quiet confidence that her boy would make it. She knew Bernie had that inner strength even if he couldn't see it at the time. A mom's final gift, believing in her son when the world seemed to be falling apart. I tell you why Andy Griffith is my favorite, because he was so secure. I love security, Bernie once said. That feeling of safety, he craved it his whole life. But Bernie Mac didn't just survive, he fought, carried the weight of pain and humor side by side every step of the way. And when the spotlight finally found him, he came out swinging, raw, loud, and fearless. Def Comedy Jam wasn't just another show, it was Bernie's breakout, a moment where the world felt his pain, heard his truth, and laughed through the tears. Before Hollywood came knocking, Bernie Mac walked through fire, grinding hard, sacrificing everything just to be seen. Bernie Mac was all about family. He worked his fingers to the bone, just to keep food on the table while chasing his dream of making folks laugh. He took on whatever job he could find, scrubbing floors as a janitor, sweating it out in hot kitchens, even hauling heavy furniture. Nothing was beneath him. Every gig was just another step toward that stage he knew he belonged on. But what Bernie didn't see coming was how rough the road would get. In 1992, things finally started to shift, big time. That year, he hit the stage on HBO's Def Comedy Jam, and the moment he stepped up, he owned it. The crowd, blown away. That one performance put him on the map. After Def Comedy Jam, doors started creaking open. Bernie scored small parts in flicks like Mo Money in 92 and the cult classic Friday in 95. He was soaking it all in, leveling up his acting game, but that breakout role still waiting? Then came Midnight Mac, his own HBO show. This was Bernie in his element, uncut, wild, and real. His personality lit up the screen. Soon after, he linked up with some major heavy hitters, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley, for Spike Lee's The Original Kings of Comedy. That film didn't just feature comedy legends, it cemented Bernie Mac as one of the greats. That project didn't just make people laugh, it proved that Bernie Mac was in a league of his own. His wild, fearless, no-filter comedy hit different, and The Original Kings of Comedy sealed his spot in the Comedy Hall of Fame. But while the crowd was cracking up, behind the scenes, something real shady was brewing because not every king played fair, and Bernie's biggest battle wasn't just with Hollywood politics, it was with Steve Harvey. If you were around in the early 2000s, you remember how massive the Original Kings of Comedy tour was. Bernie, Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hughley were everywhere. Stadiums packed, fans screaming, nonstop laughs across the country. But in a 2018 Vlad TV interview, D.L. Hughley dropped some serious tea about what really went down. Fans were begging for a sequel tour, but it never happened. Why? Drama. Heavy drama. Hughley revealed that the main reason the second tour got scrapped was because of rising tension between Bernie Mac and Steve Harvey. According to Hughley, the two didn't vibe at all. Behind the smiles, they were clashing hard. That friction got so thick it crushed any shot at bringing the tour back. They might have been crowned kings on stage, but backstage, it was war, and Bernie wasn't backing down. Hughley shared a moment that said it all. They were out on the golf course talking about bringing the tour back, thinking maybe it could work. But just one day later, boom, everything fell apart. Bernie made the call to walk away. And just like that, the dream was done. According to Hughley, one big issue was the way networks were favoring Steve Harvey. Steve was getting loaded with TV deals, prime opportunities, and all the shine, while Bernie was being left in the background. That kind of imbalance, it created friction, real friction. But the game started to flip. Bernie began getting the recognition he'd always deserved, and once the respect finally showed up, he dipped. He didn't need to fight for space anymore. He carved out his own lane and took it. Each of the kings had their own flavor. Steve Harvey was smooth with the mic. He'd scan the front row and roast folks about their clothes, hair, or jobs. That crowd work, it became his trademark. But Bernie, he came in swinging real talk. His style hit deeper, rawer. He cracked jokes that came from pain, struggle, and the streets. And behind the scenes, word is Steve wasn't feeling it. Some say there was a little jealousy brewing. Steve might have seen Bernie's growing power as a threat. And guess what? Cedric, the Entertainer, he pretty much backed up what Hughley said. So yeah, that tension wasn't just rumor, it was real. I mean, they were both alpha males. They just saw it different. Cedric, the Entertainer, admitted during his sit down on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast. And just like that, Cedric laid it bare. Those strong personalities didn't mix. His words carried weight, hinting that Bernie Mac's beef with Steve Harvey might have actually held him back had he still been around today. Cedric even said the fallout from the feud straight up killed any shot at another big money tour. But he didn't stop there. He threw in another twist, blaming part of the mess on the promoter. He got a bigger head than all of us, Cedric revealed. So now it wasn't just tension between the comics, it was egos everywhere, including the folks pulling the strings backstage. It's like this, what looked like a powerhouse of black comedy on stage. Behind the curtain, it was a pressure cooker of pride, politics, and power plays. What should have been a legacy-building run got chopped down by behind-the-scenes drama, and it wasn't just Cedric calling it out. Ed Lover, the iconic DJ and hip-hop voice, jumped in too. On his Come On Son podcast, he backed up everything Cat Williams laid out on that same Club Shay Shay episode. Yup, he confirmed Bernie and Steve, definitely not on good terms. The rift was real and people knew. Ed Lover wasn't just talking, he had real history with Bernie Mac. "I was friends with Bernie until the day he died," he said, and then he dropped a bombshell. Ed backed up Cat Williams' claims that Steve Harvey actually tried to snatch Bernie's role in Ocean's 11, straight up tried to slide in and take the spot. "Bernie told me out of his own mouth," Ed said. "I believe Bernie Mac when he said Steve Harvey hated on him." That kind of betrayal, it cuts deep, but the tension didn't stop there. Back in 2003, Bernie sat down with GQ magazine and didn't hold back. He called out Steve Harvey, accusing him of being jealous and trying to block his rise in Hollywood. No sugarcoating. Bernie made it clear he felt Steve was not in his corner when it counted. Steve finally responded in 2010, and his tone was more hurt than angry. "I was upset at first because it just wasn't true," Steve said. "Me and Bernie had a lot of good times together. Then this GQ article came out with all this vicious stuff. And when Bernie told him he never said it, Steve claimed he had no choice but to take him at his word. But the damage, already done. That trust, cracked. And Hollywood was listening. Steve Harvey finally came clean. What started as simple competition between him and Bernie. It twisted into full-blown resentment. And even after Bernie passed, Steve's name kept creeping up. Linked to Diddy, tangled in rumors, surrounded by silence. That's when folks started connecting the dots. Then came summer 2019 and the internet exploded. Paparazzi caught a moment that had everyone's jaws on the floor. Diddy, 49 at the time, seen strolling real close beside Lori Harvey, who had just turned 22. Matching outfits, intimate body language, the way they moved like they'd been rehearsing it. This wasn't no business deal. It wasn't some friendly walk through the city. Nah, it looked romantic. And not just a little. It looked suspiciously close. But wait, it didn't end there. More photos dropped, and these ones had people shook. A lavish family vacation in Italy, and there they were. Diddy, Lori, Steve Harvey, and Marjorie Harvey, all sitting together at a dinner table, chilling, smiling, calm, like nothing was off, like it was just another casual family moment. But folks weren't buying it, not with everything already swirling around, because when the camera zoomed in on that table, it looked way too calm for something that had people asking serious questions. To fans and critics alike, the message in those photos was loud and clear. If Lori and Diddy were really an item, then Steve Harvey was either totally okay with it or putting on a front like he was. And that's when people started looking at Steve real different. The age gap, impossible to ignore. Lori had basically grown up around Diddy. He'd been in her life for years, reportedly as a close family friend, way before she was even legal. But what really made folks uncomfortable was a rumor that took things to a whole new level. Word on the street was Lori had already dated Diddy's son, Justin Combs. Whether the timelines crossed or not, the optics were a mess. People started whispering, did she really go from the son to the father? And Steve? He stood there through it all, posing, smiling, acting like everything was just fine. Social media did not hold back. Memes went viral overnight. The internet was on fire with gossip, jokes, and speculation. The situation had gone from awkward to scandalous in no time. Even Nick Cannon jumped in and said what a lot of people were already thinking. In an interview, he laid it out, plain and direct. Silence, no statements, no clarifications, no pushback, nothing. People were stunned. How could Steve Harvey, the same man who wrote Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, a whole book preaching about respect, responsibility, and protecting women, just stand by like this? To many fans, that silence said more than any press release ever could. It didn't feel like confusion, it felt like consent, or worse, like he was in on it. Then came the unfollow that shook everything. By October 2019, Lori had unfollowed Diddy on Instagram. Just like that, their public outings vanished. No more matching fits, no more luxury strolls. It was like someone hit delete on the whole thing. People started whispering something major must have gone down, but there was no drama spilled online. No messy rants, no interviews, no sneak disses, just silence. It wasn't a breakup, it was a wipeout. Clean, cold, sudden. But for those paying attention, it was clear. Lori wasn't just walking away from a man, she was walking away from a storyline. And that storyline, it had folks uneasy. A young black woman barely out of her teens, allegedly going from dating Justin Combs to being seen with his billionaire father Diddy, and right there in the mix, Steve Harvey, smiling in family photos, staying way too quiet. While her celebrity stepfather stayed dead silent, people couldn't ignore the irony. Steve Harvey built his entire image preaching respect, protection, and how real men should lead their families with strength and values. So when this situation with Lori played out in the public eye and he said nothing, it wasn't just weird, it felt like a betrayal. Because if Steve Harvey couldn't step up and protect his own daughter figure from getting caught in something that messy, then what did all his books, his speeches, and those made-for-TV sermons even stand for? That's when the questions started pouring in, ones people had never dared to ask before. This wasn't just about Lori anymore, or even about Diddy. It became about Steve. What kind of man stands by while this plays out? And why didn't he say a single word? This wasn't just another Hollywood buddy-buddy moment. This was personal, public, and for Lori, way too close for comfort. Because Diddy, he wasn't just a music mogul. He was a man surrounded by secrets. And Steve, he was right there, front row. As the rumors about Lori and Diddy lit up every blog and gossip page, a deeper, darker conversation started bubbling under the surface. This wasn't just messy dating talk anymore. It turned into a real discussion about power, silence, and accountability. Because if Diddy was just another celebrity fling, this whole thing would have faded fast, but it didn't, and that silence, it got louder. But Sean Diddy Combs wasn't just some celebrity. He was a man with a growing trail of allegations, control, secrecy, and abuse, all quietly stacking up over the years. And when Lori Harvey started popping up at Ciroc-sponsored events, stepping into that glitzy lifestyle Diddy built, fans noticed something was off. It wasn't just about being glamorous. It felt like she was being branded. Diddy didn't just date women, he wrapped them into his empire, image, influence, and silence. And Lori, at that time, she was the crown jewel. Young, stunning, tied to fame, and always quiet. No interviews, no confirmations, just presence, until one day she was gone. But what really had people raising eyebrows was Steve Harvey's complete disconnection. Not once did he step up publicly with concern, a warning, or even a mild explanation. And for a man who built his career telling women how to act, telling men how to lead, and preaching how fathers should protect their daughters, that silence hit different. It was loud. Behind closed doors, whispers turned into rumors. Some believed Steve wasn't just staying quiet, he might have been in on it, that he approved or at least allowed the relationship, hoping to tighten his ties with one of the most powerful and untouchable men in entertainment. And just like that, the image of the protective father figure started to crack. Others believed Steve Harvey wasn't complicit, just powerless, that Diddy's influence ran so deep, speaking out might have cost Steve everything, deals, status, even his safety. But the evidence, it just kept piling up. Diddy and Lori weren't just spotted out once or twice, they were everywhere. Cabo, Manhattan, Atlanta, Italy, public, private, family dinners, matching outfits, coordinated looks. If it wasn't a relationship, then it had to be one of the most calculated PR setups in recent gossip history. And Steve, he was either standing right there or staying eerily silent. Neither look helped his image. Then everything exploded. The Cassie video surfaced. Shocking footage, confirmed by multiple witnesses and accepted in a federal investigation, showed Diddy physically assaulting Cassie, kicking, dragging, and showing a level of control that turned people's stomachs. After that, silence. All the celebrities, all the allies, suddenly quiet. But for some people, that quiet wasn't good enough. That's when the internet turned back the clock. They pulled out every photo, Italy, Mexico, dinner tables, red carpets. They studied the body language, the fake smiles, the closeness, And more than anything, fans zeroed in on one question. How could Steve Harvey, a man who built his entire brand on protecting women, on being the father figure, the moral guide, stand right next to all of this and say nothing? Even more unsettling were the whispers that Lori may have gone through something dark during that time. She never spoke out publicly, but fans noticed the shift. Her once bold, carefree dating life suddenly got quiet, real quiet. No more flashy moments, no more public romances. Instead, she started talking more about boundaries, self-worth, and the importance of knowing who you are. People started wondering, did something happen behind the scenes that changed her? During her relationship with Michael B. Jordan, rumors floated that she confided in him privately about emotional scars. And when she unfollowed Diddy, it didn't feel like a petty breakup move. It felt like a silent protest, a quiet way of saying, I'm done without ever saying a word. Now, with Diddy's trial officially underway in 2025, the pressure is on. Prosecutors have laid out serious claims: manipulation, coercion, violence. Women are stepping forward, receipts are dropping, videos, testimonies, documents. And suddenly the question isn't if Diddy did it, it's who knew. And caught right in the center of it all, Steve Harvey, the polished mentor, the best-selling author, the man who told millions how to lead, how to protect, how to show up as strong fathers and husbands. Now he's standing silently beside one of the darkest entertainment scandals in recent memory. And for many, that silence speaks louder than any words ever could. Lori Harvey has always kept it locked down. She doesn't do messy tell-all interviews, doesn't air out drama on podcasts, and you won't catch her writing long, emotional captions on Instagram. And yet, she's one of the most talked about women in pop culture. Part of that's no mystery. She's stunning, stylish, and has dated some of the most famous men in the industry. But the other part is that she lives right in the middle of nonstop rumors and never confirms anything. That silence, it became her shield during the Diddy chaos, but it also made people look twice. Some folks thought she was playing chess, using her relationships to climb, staying strategic instead of emotional, but others, they saw it differently. That silence didn't feel like a game, it felt like survival. No matter how many luxury brands she rocked or exotic vacations she shared, there was always a wall. Lori looked flawless, but she also looked guarded. Like behind the perfect image was something a lot more complicated. By the time she got with Michael B. Jordan, people assumed it was a PR reset, a clean-cut romance to scrub off the Diddy drama. But over time, fans noticed something real. Lori looked different, more at ease, more self-assured, more in control. Whatever she'd been through before, she wasn't just surviving anymore, she was finally driving the narrative. I've never seen that picture before. That's what some said when old images started resurfacing, reminders of just how close Lori and Diddy once appeared. Rumors swirled that during her time with Michael B. Jordan, Lori opened up to him about everything that came before. Some even claim she told him directly about the disturbing vibes she picked up while in Diddy's world. Nothing has ever been confirmed, but something definitely shifted. The relationship ended just as quietly as it began. No drama, no cryptic posts, just gone. But silence, when paired with a certain kind of past, it starts speaking volumes. Since then, Lori's flipped the script. She's taken full control of her image, launched her own skincare brand, became a regular on the Met Gala carpet, stepped away from messy headlines. But the past, it never stays buried. And now, with Diddy facing charges for sex trafficking and multiple counts of abuse, fans are re-examining every woman linked to him and every man who stood by his side. That includes Lori, and yes, that includes Steve Harvey, because Lori wasn't some background extra. She was in it, photographed, seen, connected. Not just a guest in Diddy's orbit, but rumored to be his girlfriend, reportedly his ex, and most notably the stepdaughter of a man who'd been Diddy's friend for over a decade. And in that context, silence doesn't just feel suspicious, it starts to look like complicity. What a lot of fans believe now. Lori got out just in time. Whatever went down between her and Diddy, whether it was emotional, psychological, or something even darker, it was serious enough for her to cut all ties. Fast. The Instagram unfollow, the sudden vanishing act from paparazzi shots, the total wipe of any trace connecting them. That wasn't drama, that was self-protection. But protection from what exactly? With every new update from Diddy's case, that question keeps getting louder. And it's no longer just about Lori. The spotlight swings right back to Steve Harvey because Steve wasn't some distant stepdad chilling in the background. He's a major entertainment powerhouse. He had talk shows, best-selling books, and a mic in his hand nearly every single day. So when it came time to speak up, to defend, clarify, or even just acknowledge what was going on, he chose silence. And some people still try to give him grace. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe Lori kept it all from him. Maybe, like the rest of the world, he was caught off guard. But others, they aren't buying it because for them, it's not just about what happened behind closed doors. It's about what Steve represents. The man who built his entire brand telling women how to protect themselves went completely quiet when it counted most. While allegedly failing to protect the most important woman in his life, that's what makes this story so hard to forget. Not just because of what might have happened, but because of who may have let it happen. For years, Steve Harvey played the role of America's wise mentor, but when his own stepdaughter may have needed protection the most, he disappeared. That's when the public started seeing the cracks, the difference between the brand and the man. See, Steve Harvey is a master of the mic. Whether he's dropping punchlines or preaching life lessons, he knows how to hold a crowd. He's built himself up as a moral compass, a man who's made mistakes, learned from them, and now guides others with that earned wisdom. But lately, that polished image, it's starting to crumble. He tells women to act like ladies and think like men. He preaches about love, loyalty, and how real men should treat women like queens. Women expect men to reciprocate their love the same way they give it out, he once said. But our love is very different. And yet, when it came to his own, he stood silent. While Lori was allegedly involved with one of the most powerful and now one of the most exposed men in the industry, Steve Harvey said nothing. And now, people are finally asking, who is he really? And now the man at the center of it all, Diddy, is being called one of the most dangerous figures in the entertainment industry. And Steve Harvey, the man who tells others to lead with strength, with morals, with integrity, when it was time to face a story that demanded moral clarity, he vanished. This is the same Steve Harvey who wrote best-selling books on fatherhood, the same man who preached loyalty, the same guy who sat on talk shows and judged people's relationships like a seasoned expert. But when the moment came for him to lead by example, to say something, he went silent. And now that silence, it's part of the scandal. As Diddy's federal case heats up, the spotlight keeps getting hotter. Women are stepping forward with deeply disturbing accusations. Court records now lay out years of abuse, coercion, and manipulation. There's video footage, audio tapes, witnesses, legal teams. This isn't gossip anymore. It's evidence. It's courtroom fact. And now people aren't just focused on Diddy. They're turning their eyes to everyone who stood close, smiled for photos, and stayed quiet. Steve Harvey is no longer shielded by reputation. The benefit of the doubt, gone. Because when you build your name on values, the world expects you to stand up for them, especially when it hits close to home. Now, fans are asking the real question, has Steve Harvey's brand ever been about principle, or has it all just been performance? Because what's the point of success if it means sitting at tables with predators? What's respectability worth if it comes at the cost of staying silent to protect your own reputation? What makes it even worse is that Steve has never been quiet before. He's always got something to say about women's clothing, dating culture, parenting, social issues. He'll break down how people should raise their kids or who should pay on the first date, loud and confident. But when Lori, his own family, was getting dragged online for allegedly being involved with both Diddy and Justin Combs, when she became the punchline in memes, interviews, and gossip blogs, he said nothing. He didn't defend her, didn't say she deserved respect or privacy, didn't clear the air. He let the rumors spiral while still showing up at the same dinner tables where all the whispers started. And now, people feel betrayed. That silence isn't quiet anymore. Not with Diddy under federal investigation, not with women speaking out, not with receipts stacking higher by the day. Steve Harvey's carefully crafted image is cracking. He built a career giving advice, so where was that advice when it mattered most? He told women to be cautious, but didn't shield his own, and told men to lead, but shrank when the truth came knocking. And Bernie Mac, he saw through it way before the rest of us did.